Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
For years, entertainment interviews have followed an unspoken script. The questions sound sharp, but the answers are carefully softened. The smiles arrive on time. The risks are avoided. Everyone leaves the room unharmed, unchanged, and largely unremembered. That is why when a reporter once tried to press Wang Yibo with a seemingly ordinary question, the atmosphere shifted in a way no one expected. There was no raised voice, no dramatic pause for effect, no attempt to charm his way out. Instead, there was something far more unsettling in today's media landscape: clarity. The kind that leaves no gaps to exploit. The kind that makes a room go quiet, not because someone has been embarrassed, but because something truthful has just landed. In an industry built on polish and prediction, moments like this feel almost disruptive. Viewers sensed it immediately. This was not a performance. This was not a rehearsed answer designed to travel safely across headlines. It was a man speaking as himself, aware of the weight of his words and unafraid of where they might lead. From that moment on, the interview was no longer a routine exchange. It became a test of who could keep up and who could not. When the first question came, it sounded harmless enough. Popularity, exposure, the kind of topic most artists approach with gratitude and distance. Careful to thank supporters while saying very little at all. Yet Wang Yibo did not circle the subject. He did not dress it up. He addressed it head-on, calmly describing visibility as something that carries both opportunity and obligation. Attention, he suggested, is never free. It asks something in return. In one short response, he reframed a word that dominates modern entertainment and stripped it of its glamour. What followed was not applause, but a brief stillness, the kind that occurs when a familiar narrative suddenly feels inadequate. Viewers later described the sensation as refreshing, even relieving. Someone had finally said what many sensed, but rarely heard, articulated so plainly. As the questions continued, the contrast grew sharper. Asked about his daily life, his habits, his purchases, Wang Yibo responded with disarming simplicity. No anecdotes, no embellishment. When he said he had bought nothing recently, it was not a statement meant to impress. It was merely accurate. That honesty, almost blunt in its restraint, triggered a wave of amusement online. Not because it was funny in a scripted sense, but because it felt human. The laughter came from recognition, from the realization that not every answer needs to be turned into a story to be meaningful. Then came the lighter prompts, the kind designed to reveal personality. If you could learn any skill, what would it be? Many would choose something impressive, something aspirational. Wang Yibo chose invisibility. The response landed gently, yet it carried unexpected weight. In a profession defined by constant visibility, the idea of briefly disappearing resonated deeply. It suggested fatigue without complaint, vulnerability without self-pity. Viewers understood instantly. Sometimes the most revealing answers are the quietest ones. Not every moment was gentle. At one point, a reporter attempted to steer the conversation towards generational taste, hinting that his work leaned too heavily on nostalgia. It was a familiar tactic, subtle but loaded, designed to provoke comparison and controversy. Wang Yibo smiled, paused, and returned the question. What exactly did nostalgic mean? The room laughed, tension easing, but the message was clear. Labels only hold power when they go unexamined. He then reframed the discussion, speaking about how innovation and tradition can coexist, how progress does not require erasing what came before. In doing so, he closed the door on misinterpretation without slamming it shut. Throughout the exchange, one theme remained consistent. Wang Yibo never positioned himself as a victim of pressure, nor as a hero enduring it. When discussing acting, he described it as work. Demanding, repetitive, unglamorous at times, but honest. Lines must be learned, characters must be understood. There are no shortcuts. Injuries, exhaustion, and long hours were mentioned only in passing, never as currency for sympathy. That restraint, too, struck a chord. In an era where struggle is often amplified for effect, his refusal to dramatize his own effort felt quietly radical. Questions about change inevitably followed. Had fame altered him? He acknowledged a busier schedule, a faster pace, but insisted the core remained untouched. His interest in the craft had not shifted, his focus had not wandered. The answer did not seek reassurance. It simply stated continuity. For many viewers, that steadiness was unexpectedly moving. It suggested that growth does not always require reinvention. Sometimes it is enough to remain aligned with one's original intent. Perhaps the most discussed moment came when the conversation turned towards personal life and expectations. The image of perfection, Wang Yibo noted, is something audiences often project onto artists. Cameras polish away flaws, screens compress complexity. Yet reality is far less seamless. Acknowledging this gap did not weaken his image, it strengthened it. By admitting imperfection without dwelling on it, he invited understanding rather than judgment. The response sparked widespread discussion, not because it revealed something shocking, but because it confirmed something quietly reassuring. Authenticity still has a place, even here. As clips from the interview circulated, reactions poured in. Some admired his composure, others related to his fatigue. Many simply appreciated being spoken to without pretense. What made the exchange so compelling was not any single remark, but the pattern they formed together. Each answer reduced the distance between speaker and listener. Each refusal to exaggerate, to dramatize, to deflect, built trust. Reporters found fewer angles to pursue, not because questions were unwelcome, but because there was nowhere left to hide. In the background of all this was a subtle shift in power. Interviews are often framed as tests, with artists navigating traps set by curiosity or controversy. Here, the balance felt different. Wang Yibo did not dominate the conversation, he stabilized it. He treated each question as something to be addressed, not avoided or exploited. The result was an exchange that felt less like performance and more like dialogue, even when the room itself remained largely silent. This is why viewers did not simply watch the interview. They replayed it, they shared it, they discussed it. In a digital landscape crowded with noise, moments of clarity travel fast. They cut through the blur of speculation and spin. They remind audiences that behind the images and headlines, there are still individuals capable of speaking with intention. For those following his career, the interview became a reference point. Not a turning point defined by scandal or spectacle, but a moment of alignment. Words matching actions. Public image reflecting private principle. It suggested that strength does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives in measured sentences, spoken without urgency, yet impossible to ignore. If there is a lesson hidden within these exchanges, it is not about how to answer questions perfectly. It is about answering them honestly enough that perfection becomes irrelevant. In doing so, Wang Yibo did not silence reporters through force or cleverness. He did it through coherence, through knowing what he stood for and expressing it without excess. As viewers, moments like these invite us to listen more closely. to value substance over spectacle, to recognize that sincerity, when paired with clear thinking, can be more compelling than any dramatic headline. And in a world where so much is designed to provoke reaction, there is something quietly powerful about an interview that leaves people thoughtful instead. If you found yourself drawn into this story, if you felt that pause in the room, that shift in tone, then you already understand why these moments matter. Thank you for spending this time with us on Star Watch Now. If you enjoy thoughtful stories from the heart of the entertainment world, consider subscribing to the channel and joining our growing community. Your support helps us continue bringing you stories that value clarity, depth, and the human side of fame. Until next time, stay curious, stay reflective, and keep watching.